You're not slow. Your brain is overloaded. If you've ever tried to learn something new and felt like your brain was leaking information the way a cheap bucket leaks water, congratulations. You're functioning exactly the way a human brain is supposed to function.
It's working!
Most people assume that if they can't remember everything they read or if they keep zoning out halfway through a sentence, it must be a personal flaw. They think they're slow, getting older, or just not made for learning. The truth is a lot less dramatic. You're not slow, you're overwhelmed. Your brain is getting hit from all sides: notifications, noise, stress, digital clutter, a to-do list that never ends. And you're trying to learn in the middle of that mental hurricane. It's like trying to study on a roller coaster. You can cling on for dear life, but good luck absorbing anything. And here's the fun twist: learning faster has nothing to do with becoming smarter. It's about clearing enough mental space for your brain to do what it's naturally good at. Once you stop treating your brain like a pack mule and start treating it like the delicate, high performance machine it is, learning becomes smoother, faster, and honestly, kind of peaceful. The hidden biological limit on learning. Your brain may look calm on the outside, but inside it's running a full scale construction site every time you try to learn something new. New information requires new neural pathways, and building those pathways eats up energy. The brain is a survival tool, not a textbook processor, so it has built-in limits that keep you from overloading the system. You've felt those limits before. It's that moment when you reread a paragraph 3 times and still couldn't tell someone what it said. It's when the words start blurring and your mind politely clocks out and walks away. That's cognitive load hitting its maximum capacity. And it doesn't matter how motivated you are. Biology always wins. When information is completely new, full of jargon, or delivered in a dense, non-stop stream, your brain has no anchor points, nothing familiar to hook onto. So it does what it always does when something seems confusing or irrelevant. It quietly tosses it aside. Not because it doesn't care, but because it physically doesn't have the resources to handle it. Your brain evolves slowly. The world changes quickly. You're basically running prehistoric hardware on modern software demands. No wonder it overheats. The motivation myth. We've been fed a lifetime of advice that says struggle is the answer. Focus harder. Try again. Put in more effort. That advice works great for lifting weights, but fails miserably when you're trying to absorb complex information. You can't brute force your way through learning. Motivation gets you to sit down with the book. It does not guarantee you'll remember a single word of what you read. What actually determines whether your brain absorbs information is intention, relevance, and familiarity. Intention is the part you already know. You want to learn. But relevance and familiarity are the secret doors most people never bother opening. Relevance tells your brain why something matters. Familiarity tells your brain how it connects to what you already know. When information feels both relevant and familiar, your brain opens the gates and says, "Fine, let's store this." When it feels foreign and pointless, the gate stays shut. This is why pushing harder leads straight to burnout. You're pouring effort into a system that isn't activated. Your brain isn't saying you're lazy. It's not saying you're incapable. It's saying, "I don't see the point yet." And until you show it that point, effort alone won't save you. The 10 times principle: remove friction, don't add effort. If learning had a villain, it wouldn't be ignorance, it would be friction. Friction is every little thing that slows your brain down. Complicated explanations, unfamiliar terminology, dense paragraphs, lack of structure, and information coming at you faster than you can process it. Most people respond to friction by trying to push harder, but that's like pushing a car with the parking brakes still on. No matter how strong you are, you're not getting far. Learning 10 times faster isn't about multiplying your effort. It's about removing the parking brakes. The 10 times principle is built on one simple truth. When information is simplified, organized, and broken into meaningful patterns, your brain absorbs it automatically. No force, no frustration, no burnout. When you simplify what you're learning into plain language, you cut the friction. When you break it into chunks instead of giant blocks, you cut the friction. When you cycle through short bursts instead of long marathons, you cut the friction. When you anchor information to something meaningful, you cut the friction. Faster learning is just a byproduct of better conditions. When you stop fighting your brain and start working with it, the speed comes naturally. And so does the confidence that you can learn just about anything without running yourself straight into exhaustion. Step 1. Simplify the input before you learn. Most people start learning in the exact worst way possible. They open the book or the article or the lesson, stare at all the unfamiliar terminology, and try to brute force their way through it. That's like stepping into a boxing ring with a heavyweight champion and hoping positive thinking carries you through. Of course, you're going to get knocked out. Your brain needs the simplest possible version of a concept before it can understand the complicated version. That isn't cheating, it's sequencing. And sequencing is half the battle. When you simplify something, you're not avoiding the real material. You're laying the foundation that makes the real material make sense. Your brain is naturally drawn to concrete, relatable ideas. But when the information is abstract, full of technical vocabulary, or packed with ideas you've never seen before, your brain doesn't know where to attach it. So it tosses it to the side. Simplifying a concept is basically grabbing your brain by the hand and saying, relax, here's the basic shape of the idea. We'll get to the hard part soon. And once your brain has the basic shape, it finally has something to build on. What used to feel like a wall starts feeling like a staircase. And instead of fighting the material, you start moving with it. Learning becomes smoother, lighter, and faster because you've cleared the biggest enemy: unnecessary complexity. Step 2 and 3. Chunk and cycle. Chunking takes the chaos of information and breaks it into pieces your brain can actually digest. Your working memory is tiny. It can only hold a few pieces of information at a time. When you try to shove a whole chapter or entire lecture into it, it overloads just like a computer freezing when too many tabs are open. Chunking prevents that freeze. It divides the information into smaller blocks, and suddenly what felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Each chunk becomes a puzzle piece, and your brain can handle puzzle pieces far better than full puzzles. But chunking only works long-term when you pair it with cycling. Cycling is the art of coming back to something repeatedly in short bursts instead of drowning in it all at once. The brain forms long-term memory by revisiting information, not by marinating in it for hours. Your brain loves breaks. It loves stepping away and coming back. Cycling gives your brain the signal that this information matters because it's being repeated, not endlessly, but consistently. The first pass through a chunk might feel shaky. The second feels familiar. By the third, your brain has hooked it into long-term storage. And because each cycle is short, you never hit the wall of exhaustion that usually ruins learning. You're training your brain in waves instead of trying to shock it into submission. Step 4. Anchor the information. Anchoring is where information transforms from "I kind of get it" to "this makes total sense." Your brain isn't a storage closet, it's a web. Every new idea needs a connection to an existing concept or emotional experience. Without that connection, it floats away like a balloon someone forgot to tie down. Anchors are what tie it down. Emotional anchors make the information resonate. Maybe it reminds you of something you struggled with in the past. Maybe it solves a problem you've dealt with for years. Maybe it gives you a sense of progress that feels rewarding. Practical anchors are when you see exactly how to use the information in the real world. Suddenly, the idea has a job. The brain loves giving ideas jobs. Pattern anchors are when the new concept fits into a structure or framework you already understand. It snaps into place like a missing puzzle piece, and once it snaps in, it stays. Anchors give information weight. Without weight, information drifts away. With weight, it sticks, strengthens, and becomes a building block for the next thing you learn. Anchoring is what turns random facts into actual knowledge and makes learning feel effortless instead of slippery and frustrating. The burnout-proof learning loop. Burnout shows up when your method is fighting your biology. Long study sessions, cluttered notes, rereading the same confusing section over and over, pushing through exhaustion. These are the things that drain you. They don't build learning, they build stress. The burnout-proof loop flips that entire experience on its head. When you simplify, chunk, cycle, and anchor, you're treating your brain the way it was designed to operate. You're giving it clarity instead of confusion, small pieces instead of chaos, repetition instead of overload, and meaning instead of randomness. And when you do that, something shifts. Learning stops feeling heavy. Your brain stops resisting it. Instead of mentally crashing after 30 minutes, you start noticing that your mind actually feels awake, sharp, and curious. You leave sessions with energy instead of losing it. You understand things faster and you remember them longer because you're not burning through your mental CPU with brute force. You're working with the natural rhythm your brain has had since the beginning of time. And once you feel that difference, once learning becomes a rhythm instead of a battle, you'll never go back to the old way. If you want more videos that teach you how your brain works, how to learn smarter, and how to protect your mental energy, go ahead and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and honestly, it tells me you want more videos that give you the upper hand in a world that constantly demands more from your mind. Your brain will thank you, and you'll start learning in a way that feels good, not exhausting.